to this online session, where we are going to focus on artificial intelligence and sustainability in Africa. My name is Mwatima Rashid Isa. I'm a public relations officer from IIT Madras Zanzibar campus. As we know that our continent, we are navigating a complex development challenges from climate change, resource management, and AI is playing a very powerful opportunity in innovation and sustainability. And this is toward the solutions. And this is where another experience where
So
we
shall
get
we
to.
start or should we wait for another few minutes?
No, we can start. It's okay. They will. It's anyway. It is recorded, and more than 70 people have joined. We can
You are
continue.
on mute, sir.
So I continue. Am I audible?
Yes, we can go ahead. No.
I continue. I start over or something.
Abhilasha, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We
Yeah,
can
we
hear
can
you
go ahead
now.
with that. Matima, please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so you can hear me right?
Yes, we can hear.
Yes, we can
Okay,
hear you.
yes, today we are meeting here, and discussion comes in time when Africa is increasing, embracing digital transformation in different fields is our agendas is its concern. And this is where we get to know that AI is no longer a distant concept, but a practical tool which is used to shape our future. And while doing this, we are making sure that it's aligning with our sustainable goals to make sure that no one is left behind. From IIT Madras, and I will read that it stands as a beacon of academic excellence and innovation in the region, and as a growing hub for technology, research, and entrepreneurship. It is committed to nurture talent in advancing solutions that address real-world challenges across Africa. So in this session, it's a create meaningful dialogue, which inspires collaboration and empower the generation of leaders. Going back to our agenda, we'll have 5 speakers. Each will have 10 to 15 minutes. Lesser will be good, so we can have a good time for Q&A. And our first speaker is Professor Prabhu. Please welcome. The session is yours to give us a presentation and with welcoming remarks on innovation and entrepreneurship. Professor Prabhu, we welcome. The session is yours.
Sure. So, please allow me to share my screen. So you need to allow me to share my screen. Are you all able to see and hear me?
I can hear you.
We can hear you and see you, sir. Your screen is, it's coming up.
Yes.
Yeah, it's visible now, sir.
Thank you. So, good afternoon, all of you, and lovely to see that we have participation from all over the world. And thank you, Prof. Shiva, also my fellow participants, Prof. Ravindran, and also Innocent for curating this program. Right. So, I have a few slides directly on IIT Madras Zanzibar and then also the innovation culture at IIT Madras. So IIT Madras Zanzibar was set up through the efforts of the Indian government, the government of Tanzania, and also the government of Zanzibar together in 2023, in line with our vision to go global. IIT Madras has been seeking to internationalize our education as well as educational offerings. So Zanzibar is on the eastern coast of Tanzania. It's a set of islands on the eastern side of Tanzania. And the beauty is that these islands have had a long history of contact with India and East Asia in general. Indians and India have been a critical part of India-Zanzibar relationships for many years. Zanzibar is at a global crossroads. So, and it is also a very stable and safe region economically, politically. So at IITM Zanzibar, we are celebrating 2.5+ years of operations. So we have a diverse mix of students. These are some photos from the inauguration right in 2023, where you see our officials from Indian and Zanzibari governments, and also Professor Raghu and others from IIT Madras. So today we are in a transit campus. So and we have students from almost the entire East Africa represented among the student community here. We are offering 3 major programs, which is bachelor's and master's in data sciences and AI, and also 1 bachelor's in chemical process engineering. We also have a program on ocean structures that is running. So we are soon going to start a PhD position as well. And indeed, we are open to all nationalities. So the degree as such is an IIT Madras degree. The curriculum is and standards are set up as per IIT Madras processes. And the venue is international. And this is some split of different credits, particularly in different courses and so on. One beautiful thing about our campus is that we have good participation of representation from both international as well as local. Almost 50% of our students are African, of which 44% are from Tanzania, Zanzibar as well as mainland, and the rest are from drawn across the world, largely students of Indian origin. So there is a good mix of the 2 genders in our courses. Our students tend to have engagements all across the world, particularly both in India as well as East Africa. We have 4 research labs today, and I'm very happy to report that one of these research labs, the SAIL lab, is represented by Prof. Innocent, who's going to talk in some time. These are some of our partners as well. So our campus has a vibrant mix of cultural, technical as well as sports events, and our students participate in a lot of calendared set of activities through the year, which is enhancing their learning and experiences. Now I'll come to the innovation and entrepreneurship culture, which I think is fundamental to the DNA of IIT Madras. So today, IIT Madras, the home campus, has been the #1 institution in India for over 10 years in a row in the national rankings. I must say with a lot of pride and joy that a central element of this is our innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem. We have within the campus today bodies where students can get together and give shape to their ideas. So the Center for Innovation is a student-led forum where you have almost 25 teams today across various domains such as 3D printing, blockchain, astronomy, and so on. And also there are important clubs dedicated to competitions such as Hyperloop, autonomous racing cars, solar racing cars. These on the bottom, you will see that some of our teams have, are ranked among the top 5 anywhere in the world in these forums, in these competitions. So we also have a thriving culture of pre-incubation. I think this is one of IIT Madras's original innovations, because entrepreneurship is a hard journey. And sometimes the students in our campus come from demographics which are not mercantile. So how do we encourage students to pursue entrepreneurship? So the pre-incubation is a brilliant masterstroke where we offer existing students a program over 1 year where they can go from idea to a prototype and prototype to pilots. And we have raised funds from alumni and charitable sources to support this journey. So within a year, a student can go from an ideation to a startup stage. And the idea is that we typically, enroll students in their second year, if of a typical 4-year master's program. By the start of their 4th year, they already have a startup and they graduate with a funded startup. So that's the innovation that we have done. It has worked beautifully. Today, we have over 300 students participating in our pre-incubation program. All of this comes together in our School of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, which also provides an academic setting for these kinds of activities. The last point I will close with is that a highlight, just in 24-25, we created over 100 startups thanks to our structured pipeline. And you would see each of them is a very deep tech idea, from manufacturing in space to new mobility and industrial process efficiency and safety. So this is 24-25. The latest hot of the press news is even in 25-26, we have again created 100+ startups. The number stands at about 109 as of today. So we are repeating this process. And with that, I will close and pause here. If there is Professor Shiva, is there any questions now or is it combined later?
We'll combine it later,
We'll
sir.
take
Thank
the
you.
question
Thank you.
later.
Yes, sure. So yeah, I stop here. Thank you.
So maybe you can just welcome everybody to, come to your campus.
Yeah. So the bottom line to all the attendants today is that IIT Madras is a leading brand of education in India. Our brand of education takes pedagogy to the next level, from theory to practice, and from practice to startups, actually. And we are committed to repeating the same and more in our East African location. We have already started this in a humble way. We are a international destination. If you are dreaming of getting a top degree in an international location, think of us. I hope to see you all in Zanzibar by October. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Prabhu. Matima, over to you.
Thank you, Professor, for your insightful presentation and the glimpse of ITM Zanzibar. So we are saving more time for the Q&A. Let's have our a second presenter, Professor Ravindran. Is he there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just looking at
Oh,
how to share
okay,
my.
it's your turn. Your presentation, please. You're welcome.
Nice to see you, Prof. Ravindran.
Hi, Prabhu.
As he brings his slides up, Professor Ravindran is a world-leading expert on AI. He is our
Boo.
representative on the UN Commission on Responsible AI. He also advises Indian government and the who's who of the world on AI. We are excited to have you on this webinar, Prof. Ravindran.
Thank you. So, thank you, Prabhu, and it's great that we are doing this. And like Prabhu said, we would really love to get more of you on board. In fact, just before this call, I was on another panel where we were talking about how AI is creating an impact all across Africa, and about the challenges of ensuring that people in Africa can get the advantages of AI without running into the other kinds of downsides of regulatory capture and a bunch of other issues. It was very fascinating, but also amazing to see how many independent efforts are happening all over Africa in terms of improving the reach of this technology. So today my brief was to give you just a very quick overview of AI and what does it take to build artificial intelligence that can impact a lot of people, so that folks who are actually doing the work on the ground, Dr. Nirav Bhatt and Dr. Innocent, can come later and then talk about their specific projects which there's already having impact on the ground in Africa. So very quickly, so my title of the talk today is AI and for all with a question mark. So because we still have some work to do before we get there. Just one sec while I clean up my screen. So some of you might have heard or seen this story, right? Some person in Australia used ChatGPT to cure his dog's cancer. Right? But it's not really what happened, right? The AI did not cure the cancer by itself. It really acted as an kind of a always available guide and assistant. But it was still finally qualified scientists, who could actually design the drug and check all the recommendations that were made by the AI and were sure that it's going to work. It's not like somebody just off the street can go talk to an AI and ask it, hey, I have cancer, can you cure it? And it's going to do it for you. So there's still a lot of work needed to be done, and the hard parts had to be done in the lab, right? So it is not as if, even though we hear a lot of stories about AI breakthroughs happening, it's not something that is that easily accessible. So we have a lot of work to do to get there, right? So just to step back, so this is not the start of AI. So as many of you probably heard of AI after ChatGPT came on the scene, but AI is much older, right? So some people trace the beginning of AI to Alan Turing, who asked this question, can machines think, back in 1950. And then he came up with an answer which he called the imitation game, which we all call the Turing test today, which has kind of become, easy in very, very limited domains for the current generation of AI to pass. but still quite some ways to go before they can match human intelligence, right? So the term artificial intelligence itself traces back to 1956, right? Where there was this Dartmouth, what is called the Dartmouth Conference now, which was a gathering of some of the top minds of the time to discuss the problem of how would you get a computing machine to simulate intelligence, simulate some feature of intelligence. So not only is AI not new, but real AI success is also not new. So that's Arthur Samuels playing checkers on live TV back in 1956. So the program itself that learned to play checkers from scratch, nobody told it anything, learned to play from scratch. And that was built in 1955. And by the 60s, you had AI that was being sold in the commercial market. And some people might remember back in the 90s, some of the older people in the audience might remember back in the 90s, we even had AI-powered washing machines. Right? So it's not that success is not new; it's been there. And likewise, the hype is also not new. Right? So here is a headline: the Navy revealed the embryo of an electronic computer today that it expects will be able to walk, talk, see, write, reproduce itself, and be conscious of its existence. We are not that yet, okay? But this headline is from 1958. Right? So it's not that AI hype is something new. So AI has been going through this kind of growth, promise, and then disillusionment phase. So we have been having multiple things, which is called like winter. So there's the 70s, we had what we call the first AI winter. Right? After the initial wave of successes that I had put on the previous slide. So people found out what the limitations of the current AI was, and then we went into hibernation. And then due to the efforts of Jeff Hinton and a bunch of others, there was a big revival in the mid 80s. Right? Then again, back in 2000, people found out the limits of what that generation of AI could do. And again, there was a kind of a downturn in AI investment. To the extent magazines started writing articles saying that if somebody says their company is using AI, they'll find it very hard to raise any money in the Silicon Valley to get their company off the ground. And today it seems laughable, but that was the state even in 2000, mid to late 2000. Right? And then the third wave started with the deep learning breakthroughs, again led by Hinton and a bunch of others. And then what is different about this current wave of companies, right? The current wave in AI is that as opposed to AI-enabled products that we were seeing earlier, whether it is AI for playing chess or AI for better navigation or AI for better recommendation and so on and so forth, you're now seeing companies that just sell AI as a product, whether it is DeepMind, whether it is OpenAI or DeepSeek. These are companies that are just selling AI as a product. So, and that is letting people explore the limits of AI and also come up with new applications that people haven't imagined. So much so that the current hype cycle has. Just a second, let me get that. Pointer. So the current hype cycle has led to at least 2 Nobel Prizes now so far being awarded to AI, and we don't know where else the hype is going to lead us, right? So it's to remind people, AI, even though we keep talking about it as if it is something that is monolithic, is not a single technology, right? So in the olden days, people have what were basically rule-based systems, right? You write like thousands and thousands, even sometimes millions of rules which kind of capture the intelligence of a human being. So it's called an expert system. Or you could use very, very complicated enumeration and search mechanism. So, for example, for playing chess, you basically try out all possible moves in your head. It's like you're thinking in your head, and then you're trying to figure out what is the best move to make. And chess engines that beat the world champions like Garry Kasparov were actually built on this kind of search. And then you had the extension of rule-based systems, which was more on logic-based reasoning, which led to a lot of other success stories. And then you had what's called deep learning. I'm not going to get into the technical aspects of any of this today. It's primarily a short talk, so I'll just skip much of it. But things like deep learning, which allowed us to embed AI into all kinds of applications. And of course, there is other questions like recommender systems and learning to rank, which use a very different kind of AI. And then there are all these reinforcement learning driven engines that learn to solve very hard problems which humans did not know how to systematically enumerate, right? And then there are all these kinds of hybrid approaches which have really been pushing the boundary. And one example is the Nobel Prize winning discovery called AlphaFold that allowed you to predict the structure of any protein from the sequence information. So put together, this universe of AI technologies, have been affecting almost every field and even everyday life, and you can see a lot of success stories here, right? So the thing to keep in mind is, even though I talk about all the breakthroughs in physics, chemistry, biology, medicine, law, management, driving, right? like logistics and variety of disciplines. None of these actually, every story that you see on this page predates the LLM revolution. So the LLMs have come and completely moved the dialogue to a different place, right? So generative AI, the main, like I said, right? So we basically got to see a raw, very intuitive chat interface to a very powerful AI system. And it had the ability to perform new tasks, right? Just by talking to it and giving it instructions, and it was able to do a variety of different tasks and bring high quality reasoning and AI to that the problem, right? So, and also the early versions of ChatGPT were free and open access, and that made the impact so much more visible to people, and that completely changed the conversation, because everybody could now see the power of AI and they could use it to solve a problem of their choice, not necessarily a service that was already pre-designed and provided by somebody. Of course, this comes with its own set of problems, but what people soon realized is this form of AI is going to be a productivity tool of immense power. So now it's somehow behoves us to figure out how to harness that power without any harmful effects, right? So just to quickly tell you what notion of generative AI is, again, no technique, just pictures, pretty pictures. So normally when we talk about AI that learns, right? So I was telling you about deep learning and in general this whole notion of machine learning. So the idea is that you give it a lot of examples. Instead of somebody sitting and telling you that, hey, this is how an airplane looks like, or this is how a bird looks like, or this is how a cat looks like, I'm going to show you a lot of examples of cat, right? I'm going to say, okay, all these pictures belong or that of a cat. All these pictures are that of a deer, and so on and so forth. And after you kind of digest these examples and learn something from it, I'm going to ask you this question, okay, what is this? And then you're going to come back and tell me it is a dog. Right? So in generative AI, what we do is we give similar kind of examples, right? Maybe slightly different, but in spirit, the same kind of examples. Now, instead of giving you a picture and asking you a question, what is it? I'm going to give you a label, right? I'm going to say, hey, I want to see a dog. Can you draw me a picture of a dog? And then the AI has to now generate what is the input that would have given it the label dog, right? So, and you can see here, it has generated a picture of a dog. And if you notice, it's very hard to notice because the pictures are small, but this is not a picture of the dog that was supplied during the previous training process to the AI. So what we are really looking for is the AI somehow learns this notion of dogness, right? And uses that to generate a picture for us. So that is basically where all the quote unquote, shouldn't quite say the word, but anyway, I can't resist it. Quote unquote magic lies, right? But it's not magic, it's all mathematics and optimization, which you would know better if you come and enroll with us. So one of the things I want to point out is this whole idea of generative AI has been around for at least 3 decades. And just to get it working at the scale it does today, right? That is what has taken us so long. So you obviously have heard about large language models, which are essentially these kind of generative models for text. Earlier, I was showing you images. You can also have generative models for text, like that generates paragraphs of text and does a variety of interesting things. And you have all these different players that are there in this space. So many of them started with text models. Now they do all kinds of text and image and other modalities as well. And so I should point out that Sarvam.ai, which is India's leading generative AI company right now, was founded out of IIT Madras. One of the co-founders was a faculty at IIT Madras, so we went out. And, yeah. So now, ChatGPT started off by doing these kinds of simple generation tasks. So write a story, a short essay for the prompt, space exploration beyond the planets. It can give you a lot of essays. But today, it's come to a point where, Don Knuth, right? Knuth is considered one of the fathers of computer algorithms and computer programming, right? And so he just wrote a paper recently, and he said that I've been working on a problem for several weeks, and I was shocked to learn that Claude Opus solved it in a matter of days. And so he's basically used that to solve that, but that's not the only thing, right? So now AlphaEvolve, which is a model from DeepMind, Google DeepMind, basically solved more classical open problems in mathematics. It's not just mathematics and theory, but then there is OpenAI, which has connected GPT-5 to an autonomous lab, and now they can actually use the AI to design and manufacture proteins that are targeted for a specific functionality. And it has kind of brought down the entire process cost by about 40%, and they're becoming more efficient. So it's like amazing the extent to which these models have evolved today. But still, there are some challenges with these models, right? So I'll ask a few things, right? I'll just point out a few things. For example, fairness and bias is still an issue. So more well understood sources of bias, like what you see here, like racism in the US, people have figured out ways to understand it, right? But what about these kinds of biases that are present in lower resourced countries like India and the various countries in Africa, where we don't have a systematic way in which these kinds of biases and prejudices are recorded. Therefore, we can't even test for these. So these are the big challenges. So factuality has always been a problem. So all these numbers are hallucinated, but with newer models, right, which have very, very large, what are called large context windows, the hallucination problem is going down. But we don't want to eliminate it completely. But here's an amazing example, right? So somebody asked, what is the most cited economics paper of all time? It gives you a very, very coherent response, right? It gives you a title, gives you authors, the journal name. The authors are real people, real economists. The journal is a real journal, right? And they talk about, what is the contribution of this paper, how many times it has been cited, et cetera, but the paper is completely made up, right? It doesn't exist. But it gives you this very coherent hallucination. But unfortunately, this is a necessary evil. Because if you get rid of the problem of hallucination, when we get rid of creativity of these models as well, and you really want them to solve new problems, you just don't want them to repeat what they have seen earlier. So there's a lot of challenges. And hallucinations are the only source of errors. Here is an example where somebody asks, can cheese, cheese is sliding off the pizza, how do I get it to stay there, right? And the answer it gives is you can add glue. At least it says non-toxic glue to give the sauce more tackiness. So the reason it did that was not because it was hallucinating, it was making up these answers, but it was because somebody had posted a prank article, right, on Reddit saying that, oh, why don't you just add glue to get this to work? I mean, just as a fun, right? But the AI kind of picked that one article up and started producing that as an answer. Of course, there are other issues such as deepfakes, where it's very, very easy for people to generate fake images, fake audio, and other things using AI, and people use it for malicious purposes. It's not quite a problem of AI, right? It's more a problem of how people want to use it, but still there's something that has to be addressed. And a more important problem that has been coming up more recently is this impact on mental health. So a lot of work that happens, and it turns out that the AI models, when you are turning to them for support and conversation, can make your emotional problems worse. Right? There have been issues of a variety of outcomes, undesirable outcomes that come out of talking to these AI models. More recently, people have been showing results where conversing with AI, kind of reinforces people's rude behavior or antisocial behavior, as opposed to not talking to it. They basically say, yeah, whatever you said is correct. Don't worry, keep doing what you're doing. So that makes people less likely to back off and apologize. It's going to have a much, much deeper impact. So I'm kind of coming to the end of my presentation, but just a few points here, right? So back in 2023, our organization did some study on how representative are generative models, right? Generative AI models. And so they asked it to generate, things like a house in India. They gave it a prompt and asked it to generate an image of a house in India. And I can assure you that houses in India don't look like this. This looks like a cross of some kind of a temple and some residential quarters and things like that. And then they asked it to generate an Indian person. and it generated old people with big white beards and maybe occasional Native American thrown in there. Almost all of them attired in orange, right? So very, very little women representation, very little, uh, uh, age-wise range. And likewise, when they asked it to generate an Indian woman, the Indian person did not generate any women, but when they asked it to generate Indian women, it generated almost uniformly young women. And it is not a problem for India. So this is basically what happened when you asked it to generate Nigerian women. It generated, again, young women, right? They didn't generate older people. There's no variation in terms of age. And also facial features were remarkably similar and good looking and so on and so forth. And likewise, when they asked to generate a Nigerian person, it predominantly generated men, about 80% were men. And again, they were, again, predominantly attired in orange. Right? So there are some kinds of things. And this kind of thing doesn't happen when you're asking to generate American person. So there was enough racial diversity and things like that. So that was a big of challenge. And this is back in 2023. So we ran it last year again to see if people have fixed this problem. So you can see what happens when we asked it to generate Indian houses. Well, they don't look like temples anymore, but they still look very run down and dilapidated, damaged, and things like that. And when we asked it to generate an Indian person, we had fixed it. Now it is generating only women, no men. It went the other way. But still, if you ask it to generate an Indian woman, it still generates young women, even though you can see it knows how to generate old women. But you don't get that age diversity when we go there. And this is more focused on regions where there is lesser training data and people actually worry about customizing the solutions for these regions lesser. So there was a study that showed that AI chatbots provide less accurate information for users with lower English proficiency, less formal language, and non-US audience. And this is going to persist a lot. And again, the other question that we have to ask, right? If you look at the growth of these AI models, when I generated this chart 2 years back, the X and Y axis were actually on linear scale. And the curve looked like an exponential growth curve. But today, when I generate this graph, they say, oh, sorry, we can't show you the Y axis on the linear scale. We have to show it on logarithmic scale because things are growing so fast, right? That we are not able to show everything in one graph otherwise. Right? So things have become so much. Right? In fact, now people are talking about millions of dollars, right, just to run these models, and then to train them to come to a reasonable level of performance. Right. Now the question that we have to ask ourselves is, can our countries, our geographies, right, pay the cost for training these models? But then you have to step back and also ask the question: hey, do I really need the most effective, the largest model, the latest, greatest model that does so well in solving hard theorems? Do I really need that to solve problems for me? Right? You're going to see more examples of this in the next few talks. But I just want to talk about one simple thing that I worked on with this company here in IIT Madras Research Park that worked on this problem of identifying cattle using just their nose patterns, this muzzle patterns, right? So are unique like human fingerprints. So instead of maiming the cattle by putting tags into them and then people cutting off the tags and sometimes harming the cattle itself to do some identity theft. So here is a foolproof mechanism. So you take a picture of the muzzle of the cattle, right? And then you can treat it like fingerprints. But it turned out that it was hard to standardize this. So the company actually solved a different AI problem first. They built an AI app that will tell you when to take a picture of the muzzle. What is a good angle in which to take the picture of the muzzle, so that you can make sure that the ID will work, right? So it's basically built into the phone, and whenever the angle is correct, the screen will flash green and you take a picture. So just this simple, front end, right, improve the quality of the product from like 80% identification rate, almost close to 98% identification rate now, which insurance companies have started using these as a valid proof of ID. And there are several, hundreds of thousands of customers have now come on board their platform for their ID. And none of these uses very heavy duty AI models, very simple deep learning models which can run on your laptop. So quickly, so ChatGPT and other kinds of generative models and the AI breakthroughs are here to stay. But we still have a long way to go to get to true AI. Right? So we saw a lot of problems that can potentially still arise. There's a significant impact, even at this stage, right? A significant impact in all professions and even in our societal interactions we are seeing. But the thing to keep in mind, AI is often only a small part of the process, maybe about 30%. So domain knowledge is still important. System development takes up most of the time and effort. So AI is only contributing to 30%. So you really need people who are immersed in the problem domain, right? So especially problems from the global south really need indigenous solutions of people who are familiar with the local ecosystem. A lot of work for us to do. And so come join us at IITM Zanzibar campus, and we can go ahead try to solve these problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ravindra.
Okay.
Fatima,
Thank you, Professor, for your presentations. We got a lot of things from this AI. It's in every single it's everywhere in our life, but also the human knowledge. It's accountable. We are going for our third presentation, Professor Shiva. It's your time. 10 minutes.
yes, I'll go 10 minutes.
Just wanted to add in before Professor Shiva starts, people queue up to listen to Professor Ravindran. There are, many students want to get into his class, but they cannot. So today we all got fortunate to listen to him. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Ravindra. I think you have said rightly the kind of opportunities, the platform that is available for exploring, at IIT Madras, Zanzibar, in Africa. So I'm going to touch something about, I'm just thought about AI for air quality management, and just thought I'll put some details about it, which Professor Prabhu has already indicated. Welcome you all to IIT Madras Zanzibar campus. As a director, he has invited all of you to join there. So just I'll give you some glimpse of what the institutes can offer you when you join that. And this is a vibrant campus. That is a young IIT Madras Zanzibar is a young campus, and you know that our campus is a much older, very well liked by everybody who visits across the globe. So this is about some activities related to my research work. I just thought to connect you to what kind of the problems we can address it in Africa in collaborating with IIT Madras and also IIT Madras Zanzibar. So I just put some details about today's presentation. We try to focus on air pollution, and I'll tell you that why it is important when looking at from the sustainable developmental goals. And I will also connect you how AI will be useful in making the this kind of an forecasting tool useful to the society. So at the end of the this presentation, I also wanted you to see that there are some keywords which I'm going to use so that you can remember them and then try to use AI again to check some details about it. And you know that there are 17 sustainable developmental goals, and nowhere you can find air quality is a major issue. Either you can look at it, no poverty, zero hunger, good health, quality education, gender equality, or clean water, sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communication, responsible consumption and production, climate actions, life below water, life on the land, peace, justice, strong institutions, and partnership for the goals. You look at it, nothing talks about air pollution. But if you try to look at it, there are several of sustainable developmental goals have been connected with, if you talk about good health, you need to have a good air quality. Quality education is also important, where you wanted to see that good, environment the students or children has to really learn. And then you also look at it, industry innovation. Again, air quality brings a lot of industry innovation. Sustainable cities, there is a need. Climate actions, there is an air quality, relevance. Then partnership. So there are several sustainable developmental goals you will come across air quality. Then I try to look at it, sustainable development. What is that? It means we are always talking about, to make sure that the balance the economic progress, social well-being, and protect the environment to make sure that it will be still preserved the way we are using the resources for the future. But my idea is to make sure that it is not only whatever we are utilizing the resources, it should be much more better or best in the near future generations. So the sustainable developmental goals for Africa, they generally focus some aspect of development, including poverty reduction, education, health, and environmental sustainability. So I'm going to give some relevance to that aspect. So just quickly, of course, we have many monitoring stations in India, and most of them are located either in cities with more traffic, or some industrial areas, or commercial areas. And these stations will have some limitations, because each of these monitoring stations will give you an information only about some 500 meters. So then you try to look at it, what source of contributing air pollution. Then you will always look at it, vehicles are the one which contributes major air pollution. Even I am sure that in many cities in Africa also, vehicles are contributing significant air pollution. Then coming to management, and if you want to do air quality management at your own city, then you need to have a monitoring, you need to have identify which source is contributing, then you need to come out with some model, develop some scenarios based on cost benefit analysis, then decide to what strategies to be implemented in order to reduce the air quality. Now this brings the lot of informations, like the sensors. There are low-cost sensors that are available. They can easily implement in several locations to measure the air quality. Then we can also use these sensors to develop an AI ML models and make it more useful to the society to manage the air quality, as well as some of the actions or events in that particular area. So we set up this, and this is not a Google map. You can also use this for to locate which are the hotspots for air pollution. You can also collaborate with Google, identify which are the sources that contributes locations. Is it because of the traffic congestion, or is it because of the long delay in the queuing? So all these aspects can be figured out, and it can be easily mapped in the city. Now, I wanted you to show you something more on that, because when we spend a lot of time on the outdoor while traveling, then we will try to see that which are the locations that are contributes. So we did a small exercise to understand how the air quality is distributing spatially. And we did some measurements, and we proved that air quality is a location specific. If there is a construction activity, there is an increase in concentrations. If there is a traffic intersection, there is a possibility of increasing concentration. If there are some flyovers and some events are happening within that below the flyover, then there is a possibility of increasing the concentrations. So this will give you an idea that air quality is location specific, and even in Africa, many cities, it behaves or gives the similar kind of an information. And this will be the dump site. I'm sure that several dump sites may be also existing in Africa. So if you try to measure, air quality will be much more worse in those places. So then you will try to see that how do we contain them. Though there are machine learning modeling that are useful in order to make use of it. Generally, if you try to look at from the previous Professor Ravindran's presentation, we can use these models to forecast, or we can also use this model to predict the air pollutant concentration. Not only air pollutant, you can use it for any environmental parameter predictions. In this model, you need to have some inputs. Either you can come out with a different type of inputs. For example, I'm interested to predict an air quality, for example, carbon monoxide or particulate matter. Then I try to figure out what are the possible activities that are contributing to the particulates concentration. And then you run with this database with several types of models that are existing, and then come out with your own model. As Professor Ravindran already introduced, this artificial neural network is a long history, and more than 5 decades, people are trying to look out. Now they have come out with a very sophisticated tool, which are very useful for making decisions. Now, I'm just wanted you to start thinking about it. These 5 pictures, which Ravindra has already indicated. I'm not going to ask you about the cat or dog, but now you look at it. There are some 5 pictures. I try to capture. Suppose now I am giving an information only about, because we have seen these pictures for several years and then or several times. And if you give only the informations about their eyes, and then is it possible for you to figure out these images? Then probably it is not. Then I'll give you some more. Now I'm giving you more informations about their face with nose and mouth. Then possible for you to picture. Now you can use the chat box and guess now, and I'll pause for about 10 seconds so that I just wanted to see that whether you can guess some of these pictures. Who are all this? In the next slide, I'll go in to give you the answer. And because I just wanted to see that your human model is working better, or maybe you also start thinking about artificial neural network. So these are all some pictures, and then our brain also captures based on the many observations we made on day-to-day activities, and you will always come out with picture of this. And that I just combined with both African and Indians to bring out we should able to figure out what images we are looking for. Now we can use for neural networks for several purposes: classification, forecasting, and process modeling. There are a lot of things. As for example, this is one example where we are trying to look at it. Traffic is contributing significantly. There is an homogeneous traffic, there is an heterogeneous traffic, and we can use neural network for forecasting. Within the traffic, we can also classify with the different types of vehicles: diesel, fuel, or gasoline. Then we can also model with the vintage, and then use all of this with a neural network. In this case, I've used 17 parameters and 3 hidden neurons and 1 forecasting with carbon monoxide concentrations. And then I also changed the input parameters only with the 10 with 3 hidden neurons, 1 output, and also with only 5 neurons. And we also developed some guidelines to how the models can be developed. Now there are much more sophisticated tools are available in order to develop models. Now it will give you an idea that how the models will behave. In general, you will notice that model prediction is good with more parameters, and with less parameter, model prediction accuracy reduces. Now you can also relate this with respect to the actual mechanism that happens in the environment, and you can define that one. So this is another way of using the real-time basis. You can also use this model to predict the real-time way the vehicle exhaust emissions. We developed this model, and this can also predict the vehicle exhaust emission characteristics. And there are some more database that are available. For example, based on the standard emission testing, these numbers may be very less, but actually in the ANN or neural network model, that will give you more accurate results. And you can also compare with real world exhaust emission measurements. So we also worked on several technologies, and this will be very useful for developing countries where they can adapt this for addressing with retrofitting, where there is a vehicle that need to be run for several years. And there is a road dust is another issue in almost all tropical countries. Then we can come out with what is the amount of dust which is generated. We also have some tool, a device which can control the road dust. And of course, we have did some work with indoor air pollution. I'm seeing that many places in Asia and Africa, the indoor air pollution is a major issue. We have come out with another technology which can also addresses purifying the indoor air with both filters, activated charcoal, and UV lamp. So I'll summarize with this, and sustainable developmental goals require many active data collections or data analysis to see the different scenarios and come out with the best decision making plans so that it will be work for the society and the community. So with this, these are all some sites that are available. You can also use for developing a neural network toolkit, and these are some references. So I'll stop now, and we are always welcome to you to IIT Madras or IIT Madras Zanzibar campus, which pursuing your higher studies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor, for your presentation and for sharing all these problem-solving techniques regarding the subject. Going further with our next presenter is Professor Innocent from IIT Madras Zanzibar campus on the field of his favorite field, AI in agriculture. So, Professor Innocent, you're most welcome.
Thank you, Motima, and good afternoon, everyone. So
Good afternoon.
my talk will center on AI in agriculture. So we have the slides coming up. So yeah, thank you. So Professor Ravindran and Shiva have talked so much about some of the AI applications. I'm not going to go into the AI bit. Mine is just to start this with a question, all right, or rather a problem. So according to the State of Food Security Nutrition in the World report, we have approximately 673 million people on this planet that go to bed hungry. So this is about 1 in 11 people globally, and in Africa, this is 1 in 5 people. So this is not because the world does not produce enough food, right? So we do. So the problem here is that we lose enormous quantities of food before it even reaches the plate. And this is due to diseases, climate shock, and the absence of timely information, especially at the farm level. So the World Health Organization warns that the world is failing significantly short of achieving the SDG 2, which Professor Shiva just showed. So this is the zero hunger. And of course, we were supposed to be achieving this by 2030. And this is the challenge that I personally looking at here at IIT in Madras Zanzibar. So I'll speak on these 3 pillars. For the first one will be on food security, climate resilience, and smart farming. So I'll start with food security, which in its simplest form or definition will be that every person at every particular time should have the physical means, the social means to access not only just safe food, but also nutritious food, all right? So in the world, food security is based on 4 other pillars, which is availability, all right? So in terms of production and supply, food must always be available, and access. This means economically and physically that people must be able to access food, and of course utilization. So this is where the nutrition and the safety comes in, and stability. So stability here is that people should be able to access this food consistently over time. Now, the stability pillar is one of the most threatened today, especially in Africa, or in context of IIT Madras, and where I come from is in East Africa, right? So for instance, a farmer in Kenya or Tanzania may produce enough food in a good season. But then when the drought comes, and it usually takes just one drought or one disease outbreak or one pest invasion to the crops, and that stability collapses. And when it collapses, for small holders, farmers especially, then they don't have any safety net, right? So 40% of global harvests are lost to pests and climate stress, right? This is even before they leave the farm. Now, this is not a statistic that you can just look at, lightly, all right? This means that, the food has been grown, the crops have been planted, they have been watered, a lot of water has gone into making sure these crops are mature. We've used land, and of course, there's been labor that has been involved, and then all of that just goes down the drain, all right? So some of the issues that, of course, cause food insecurity are, conflicts, extreme weather, etc. Now, the other point here is on climate resilience. All right. So climate resilience in agriculture is basically the ability of farming systems to be able to come out of climate shocks and continue functioning despite what just happened. All right. So an example here will be, it's not just about surviving a bad year or a bad drought. It's about being able to adapt in advance. All right. So can we have crops that can be able to adapt in advance? It's all about planting at the right time. So the farmers need to know when is the right time to plant. how to irrigate efficiently, and of course, how to make decisions based on what the season is likely to be green, right? So the 1.5 degrees threshold here is critical, that you can see, because even if we have a 1.5 degree of global warming, we will have a lot of yield losses, especially in stable crops in this part of the world. All right. So maize, wheat, rice, sorghum, all these will start to, experience yield losses. And the global south produces and consumes most of these crops. All right. And this is also be the region that will be hit the hardest. So agriculture here is not just about trying to, utilizing drought-resistant crops. That's what we are talking about. And we also want to see how can we be able to improve water management techniques. So again, this is something that we need to look at. Now, the next point is on smart farming. All right. So smart farming, what it essentially means is we are able to use some technologies and the data that we get from these technologies in order to have farmers make better decisions. All right. So this is where AI can actually come in. We can employ some IoT sensors, drones, etc., so that we can be able to make better decisions at the farm level. And of course, the advantages of smart farming will be, optimizing production, enhancing efficiency, sustainability itself, and of course, making sure that we have, profitability in terms of farming. So the critical distinction here that I want to make is that smart farming is not just a technology that should be used for large farms. All right. We need to be able to deploy some of these smart farming technologies in very small hectares farms in Uganda, in Tanzania, in Kenya, in Ethiopia, and even in rural India, where most of the farmers, as we know, have low-cost smartphones, and most of them lack reliable internet connection. So this is exactly what makes the AI challenge here genuinely hard, but it also makes it very important. All right. So in the next slide, I will just show you what it looks like when AI actually addresses some of these three pillars. All right. So I do have concrete examples in slide 2 that I'm going to show you. Can we see slide 2, please? The other slide.
Bilacha?
It's not coming. No. It's the second slide. Yes, this one. Thank you. So I have 3 examples here based on the pillars that I'm talking about. So this is in food security. An example here will be the plant village Nuru, right? So this one is close to home because we do have this particular AI-based application, mobile application that has been developed. Of course, it was developed by the Penn State University, and it is deployed over to around 200,000 smallholder farmers across Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, right? So how it works is very simple, right? So a farmer will go to the field. Let's say they take a photograph of a cassava or a maize leaf disease on their phone, right? So the model, the AI model here runs entirely on the device. So it does not require any internet, right? So it runs offline. So what it does is that it can be able to identify the disease that's attacking that particular leaf or crop, the severity, so how bad is it, and recommend a response within seconds. All right. So, for instance, we do have the cassava mosaic disease, which is very common in cassava that's been grown in this particular region. We also have the maize fall armyworm, right? So this is some of the diseases that affect the crops here. So before this tool, before this tool was, was deployed, farmers who noticed anything wrong with their crops had 2 options. Okay, so they had to wait for an extension officer to be deployed, especially by ministries of agriculture, who might arrive in days or even weeks, and probably they will not even do anything. All right, but now with the diagnosis is immediate, and the result is that studies have shown that these kinds of AI-based solutions are able to reduce crop loss by up to 30% when the farmers are able to act on the early alert. All right. So this is quite a difference and an improvement, and this is what will determine if the farmer is going to get a viable harvest or get a lost season. All right. So secondly, we have an example of climate resilience pillar. All right. And one of the examples that I will give here is at the Sahel region, right? So this is the north part between Africa, that region, that experience a lot of droughts, right? And what IGAD has done here, so IGAD is the Intergovernmental Authority on Development. So they run a climate prediction and application center. So how they do this is they use satellite imagery, okay, and they can be able to combine with some of the machine learning models, and they can be able to issue drought warning early enough. They can be able to forecast and issue drought warnings. And that means that the countries that live in this particular region, especially Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, so the governments are informed early enough, all right? And they also can also be able to give the rainfall pattern that's likely to occur in the next 3 or 4 weeks in advance. Right. So this 3 to 4 weeks advance warning is very significant, right? This is enough time for governments to act, for them to activate early warning protocols and prepare for any humanitarian response here. Right. So in 2022, the region was very hit with a very severe drought that it has seen in decades. All right. And this system was able to cut the emergency response time by 40%. All right. So this is not really, it's not really an outcome of research, but when we talk about drought, especially in Africa, with the inconsistent rain, this is we are talking about lives that have been protected through AI-enabled early action. All right. So this is what climate resilience looks like. But in practice, we don't want just the farmers to survive the shock, but of course have early warning to be able to absorb this. All right. So the other one is on smart farming, and I think this is where we do have a couple of examples, but I'll just share one with you today. All right. So we have Cropping. So Cropping is just it's a smart platform. It's an Indian agri-tech company actually. But the good thing is that it operates in 52 countries. This includes India, of course, Kenya, Ethiopia, and in Africa, Nigeria. So we do have these 3 countries where it's deployed. And it's a smart farm system that integrates satellite data, IoT sensors, and machine learning to be able to deliver 3 core services to smallholder farmers. Right. So it will tell when it's the correct date for planting. It will recommend irrigation scheduling based on, of course, the soil moisture sensor, and it will also be able to predict yield. All right. So this will allow farmers to plan their strategy and marketing and everything easily. And the good thing is that it's scaling over different countries. So the vision of smart farming, I believe, is in precision agriculture. We should be able to have systems and AI combined solutions that are affordable, accessible, and designed for resource-constrained areas, especially in Africa. Now, I just want to clarify here that this is also the direction that Scilab at IIT Madras is taking. So we are working currently on a project on clove quality grading for Zanzibar, which is a very critical cash crop for this economy. And of course, another one is we are looking at maize disease detection and classification. And for this, we are also developing mobile apps that can be able to be used offline for the farmers of this particular region. So I believe that this is a stepping stone towards food security and AI tools for this particular region. Now, these 3 examples that I've just given need, they will fail, or rather this field will need some of these things to be urgently done here in Africa, right? So AI in agriculture is taking a shift and growing. At least we're getting more interest as far as this is concerned, but we still have some challenges that we are trying to overcome. So the first one is that we need Open African crop benchmark datasets. All right. So most of these models that Professor Ravindran and Shiva talked about, and the key issue here is that the models are not trained on the data from this part of the world, right? So especially Plant Village, they have a very huge data set, but most of the plants are not trained, or rather the data itself is trained from outside Africa, right? So one of the things that we want to see is that AI to be able to truly serve the people here, then the data sets should be able to reflect exactly that. And one of the data sets that we've collected is for clove in Zanzibar, and we are planning to release this data set in the few coming months so that we can be able to, this is data set that reflects the soil condition, the crop varieties, and the African climate patterns. All right. So secondly, we need affordable IoT systems do exist, but they are expensive to some farmers, right? So the farmer will need real time and of course sensors that can be put, in the soil, moisture sensor, humidity sensor, etc. So most of these remain out of reach for smallholder farmers, right? So we want to be able to see how we can close that gap as far as hardware is concerned, and of course the challenge of again deploying this. So this is more of a hardware challenge as much as it is a machine learning challenge. And thirdly, we are fostering the India-Africa collaborative research pipelines, all right? So this is an opportunity that at IIT Madras we are seeking, and we are collaborating not only with IIT Madras in Chennai, but also other partners, is that we can be able to scale. And IIT Madras Zanzibar sits precisely at the intersection of this collaboration. So we intend to build this and see how we can benefit both regions of the global south. And lastly, explainability. So again, this is becoming something that we are seeing being a trend, that we should be able to explain some of these recommendations to the farmer, right? So most of the farmers are not aware what an accuracy will mean, but if they can be able to understand, or if the recommendations are, in their own language, the sense again, then we'll be able to see that the trust gap between them trusting these technologies is quite less. All right. So explainable AI, I believe, is not just nice to have. It should be a deployment requirement in this part of the world. Now, just to close, is that for the prospective students who have joined this webinar, and if you are looking for any problems that matter as far as food, climate, farming, sustainability is concerned, then this is the opportunity to join the MTech program that we're offering here. And for other researchers and collaborators, the Scilab is actively building collaborations, and we are a very young lab, but with a very serious agenda, and we want to work with people who share it. And to everyone, then the future of agriculture, AI, in the global south will of course be built up by people who grew up in this particular region and are able to understand some of the challenges that we face. All right. So this I believe is the most competitive advantage that we have, that we know exactly the problem that we have, and we know exactly how we want to deploy some of the solutions. Okay. So thank you very much. This is just a sneak peek of what AI in agriculture is doing and what Scilab is doing as far as research is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Innocent, for your presentation. Our AI in agriculture. I can see how enthused you are about the subject that you are presenting. And you said it earlier, AI is not for a large farming, and we show how you try to incorporate every community, how we're going to be in AI field. We're going for a last presentation from Professor Nirav.
Thank you, Madam Matima.
And by the way, next week is STEM week. So this is a good time that we're having this presentation. You're welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I am Nirav Bhatt. I am a faculty with IIT Madras, and I'm actually outgoing
Tech Chair with IIT Madras Zanzibar. I have been there for since inception for last 3 years. And I'm going to talk about some of the work we have done during my time. We have been still doing it at IIT Madras. It's AI for healthcare at IIT Madras Zanzibar, and it will also give you a snapshot of not only a capability but kind of data sets we Zanzibar have, which helps creating a global South in healthcare scenario in general. So why we want to work on healthcare? Healthcare is one of the biggest data contributor towards the world. We look at the healthcare data from the literature, diagnostic data, from the taste data, many metadata, epidemiological data, and also the researcher looks at some of the data coming from the cell, or what we call it from the serum, which is blood sample. Which in general, all of us give it to the when we are sick, we give it to the lab, and the lab basically characterizes it and figure it out what kind of disease do you have. And the healthcare data has a very interesting phenomena. It is unlike many other data. It has a lot of spurious data, sparse data. Very few values are available, unstructured in many cases. And how to analyze such a data is one of the global challenge. And many industries and many academias are trying to solve this problem in the era of AI/ML. And I will talk about one of such a problem which we have been working on at Zanzibar. So one of this problem at Zanzibar we are working on is looking at maternal and child health, which is long back funded by Gates Foundation, where in one of the island of Zanzibar, they have created a cohort of pregnant women and neonatal children, where they have collected data for more than 40,000 women on different kind of biochemical species and the ultrasonography, which typically done in the first trimester to understand the baby's growth. And the whole idea here is to leverage AI and computational science for understanding adverse pregnancy outcomes, and ultimately develop a phone-based AI tools for affordable healthcare, which can reach any part of the world. And not only that, we would also like to come up with some new strategy to improve the mother and the child health much before the problem arises. So we would like to be more like a in a sense of proactive than the post-active. And what we are looking for is how to analyze this data. And I will give one of the example which provides you how AI/ML can help you to detect some of this problem early on, and we can possibly salvage the situation, mother as well as the baby. So early prediction of preterm birth using metabolomics data is one of the work we have done in collaboration with the agency in Tanzania, and which is situated in on another island of Zanzibar, which is called Pemba Island. For your information, Zanzibar has two big islands. It's an archipelago of island, and Zanzibar, where Unguja is where the Madras is situated, and the Pemba is the another island which is north of Unguja Island, where Amani Tanzania cohort was created, and there they have over a year of over 5 to 6 years, and still they are doing some of the studies for other projects, collected huge amount of data. There are around total code samples are around 2,000. A sample with 2 visits means there are pregnant women who have visited twice, first trimester or in second trimester, or first trimester and third trimester, has collected data. And you can see that there's a single first pregnancy around 8,000, and initially there are around 8,400 women who are enrolled, and many of them have dropped out later on. And what they have done is looked at huge amount of chemicals inside your blood and try to understand. They pose the question that can AI/ML help us to understand what are the important signatures or chemicals that tells us that this particular pregnancy have a high probability of giving a preterm. And why we are interested in preterms? There are many reasons behind that. Because the preterm is a global crisis. It is not the crisis for the global south. Worldwide, 11% of pregnancies get affected by preterms, and it leads to neonatal morbidity and also mortality. Currently, how we try to look at it, it is using ultrasonography, which is again limited in predictive values, and especially first-time mothers. And that's why if we can come up with some kind of chemicals, what we technically we call biomarkers in the blood, we can actually detect early, and we try to salvage the situation as much as possible in terms of mother, and so that we have a healthy pregnancy as well as healthy baby. But biology of preterm is very tricky. In general, pregnancy is a complex process biologically, and finding such a chemicals out of 45,000 chemicals is not an easy task. And when I talk about it, you will see why it is not easy task. So we look at this maternal plasma blood for such a signals, and we found out that machine learning point of view, it is extreme dimensionality. It has a 45,000 features, very few examples, very few thousand observation, and this is also a problem of severe class imbalance. It means we have very few examples of preterms compared to the normal pregnancy. As I told you, 11% of pregnancy get affected by preterm. It means that remaining 89% are normal delivery. Of course, that is there are other diseases, other adverse pregnancy outcomes composed of this 89%, but still 11% are very less examples compared to the 90%. Also, in case of early detection point of view, the signal is weak. It means that it is difficult to distinguish between normal pregnancy and preterm pregnancy in the trimester 1, where we really want to detect. Otherwise, we will it will be a big problem. So we did some analysis, machine learning analysis, and we showed that it is a weak and difficult to distinguish from normal variation in first trimester after a lot of data juggling. And then what we did is we built a model for odd trimester using all the data we have. We have built more than 120 different models. And some of the powerful models we found out in trimester 2. T1 was still not a good performing model in general. And it is insufficient for clinical applications. So, but we found another model which was performing quite well compared to the other the model in T1. So, which is T1 model was quite good. As per practitioner, it is a decent number. So we use something called knowledge distillation, where we use T2 as our teacher model and T1 as our student model, and try to see that we can provide a better signals or help T1 to learn better signals with the help of T2. And by doing knowledge distillation, we showed that it is possible to improve the performance of T1 model, which basically improved the baseline T1 model, the best model in T1 based on the T1 data, and after knowledge distillation by 25%, which relative improvement helps us to now use T1 for early prediction of preterms. And that's so. That is one of the example which we are going to publish. But the point is that this is just starting point. there are much more data available at Zanzibar, where we are not looking at only metabolomics. We are looking at different meta health data. We have a lot of proteomics, genomics data, and all these are trying to understand how pregnancy goes wrong. And if we can solve this problem, it is not only the Zanzibar or India or Global South, it will help everywhere in the world and solve the problem which world is facing. Main takeaway here is, in the whole this process, the domain expert, which is epidemiologist and biologist, played a critical role, because they help us to understand what is working, what is not working, what kind of machine learning tools are appropriate based on our suggestions, and how to bring biology to the machine learning, so the AI and ML model will not remain a black box, and we can translate it to the next level of clinical discovery. So that way, I mean, with this, I will thank everyone. And this work is partly funded by GATE Foundation, particularly collection of the data, and IIT Madras. IIT Madras Zanzibar gave us a good infrastructure support, so that we have created a team. And you can see that one of the lab is going to, AI for Health lab is going to be created in the Zanzibar on the second floor of this particular building. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to address in general. Thank you, everyone, including Professor Sri Ravindra and Professor Prabhu, and Matima ma'am, to you.
Thank you all the presenters for your presentations.
Matima, just before you closing it, we would like to present about IIT Madras Zanzibar campus, some programs that are of.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just show you some few slides, and then. Can you all see the slides? The slides visible, Matima?
Yes.
Yes.
So just, thank you all for joining us this webinar, and we would just like to share, there are plenty of opportunities, and that, Africa is, growing very fast now in terms of economics, and there are plenty of opportunities, and that too, that very interesting and very innovative way of, for you to explore the various opportunities in Africa. This is IIT Madras Zanzibar is a gateway for you. I'll just show you that some programs that are currently on roll now. We have an MTech in data science and artificial intelligence, and it's a 2-year program, and basically focus machine learning and deep learning and AI systems, and also designed to give a real world impact on various emerging economics. This program covers both lab and course teaching, and also the real world problems which students will be involved in in their curriculum. And it also provides an access to IIT Madras ecosystem. You can also come exchange as a student, and you can spend some time in IIT Madras. And also, not only IIT Madras, there are opportunities for you to explore, to visit any of the leading other institutions across the country, across the globe. Then coming to, we have and this is something which we already talked about it, and as many opportunities will going to happen, will open doors for in Africa. And in general, IIT system will train you, make you to be a global leader, and you will have a better opportunities because there is a leading institutions at Zanzibar, and they have a mentorship with Prabhu as Professor Prabhu as extensive experience and to train you very well, and you can start your own companies in Africa. You don't seek a job, but you will provide millions of hundreds of jobs in that country. So that's the kind of an opportunities you are all going to get. And many more opportunities are also available to you to collaborate, explore at IIT Madras Zanzibar. So there are so many things you can become, and there are various pathways, career pathways, engineers, data scientists, a researcher, innovator, and they also started with PhD programs. Suppose if you want to, because this is a new area, and you wanted to do a PhD in that area, there is an opportunities that are existing in that. So you will learn in Africa, solve for Africa, and lead globally. So that's the message. And we also have BS programs, and those who are, suppose you are already finished your undergraduate and now you are looking for masters, those two programs which I mentioned was useful to you. And suppose you are younger, or you are some of your relatives, friends who maybe are just finished 12th and they are looking for some program, then you have a BS in data science and artificial intelligence. This is a 4-year BS programs. And again, this will give you a core training in artificial intelligence, data science, and computing, and very focused problem solving, coding, and analytical skills. They're all going to be, trained you very well to address the variety of problems. We also have another program, BS in chemical process engineering. Again, it's also a 4-year undergraduate program. So it will looks for interesting pathways like energy sustainability, chemical process industries, environmental engineering, advanced research and innovations. Very interesting curriculum which covers about sustainability, energy, data-driven optimization, and hands-on real world industrial applications. So you are most welcome to visit our IIT Madras Zanzibar website, and you are most welcome to join this very young and dynamic institution. So I'm going to ask Abhilasha to share you the one slide which give you the link for our admission portal. And please remember that we are MTech admission exam screening test will going to happen on this month 26th, and for the BS admission exam happens on 6th of June. So more details we will going to show you in a slide. Yeah, thank you very much, Matima.
Thank you, Professor, and that's well done because I think it has answered some of the question which was already on the question list. So we're going for the question and answer session. We have few which have been asked. Abhilasha, how are you doing this? But also, I think we need someone need to raise your hand.
Maybe Abhilasha, sorry, Matima, just we can look at it and Professor Prabhu can address, because they were just asked for some fellowship and some support thing available. Maybe Professor Prabhu, you can just as a director in charge of IIT Madras Zanzibar campus.
Professor Prabhu?
Yeah. So this is regarding PhD positions, is it?
Yes, one is for the PhD position. Another one is, are there any full-time scholarships available for them to pursue a master's or BS program?
Yeah, so firstly, regarding the PhD programs, many people have asked. We do have PhD on starting up very soon, but it is through two means. One is through projects. So several of the faculty members here, including Dr. Innocent, have projects going on, and you can recruit the PhD through the project. So this is a recruitment directly by the faculty members. Another way of recruitment for PhD programs is through the School of Interdisciplinary Studies at IIT Madras. So I request all of you to watch out for the website of the School of Interdisciplinary Studies. There will be call for PhD projects very soon, where many of our faculty members would be participating. And the recruitment is done through IIT Madras, but you'll be co-supervised by a faculty member from IIT Madras Zanzibar campus. So that is for the PhD. As far as scholarships, we have a number of scholarships operating, which include by foundations such as Airtel Africa, and also President Samia Suluhu Hassan from Tanzania. She has also announced 10 scholarships for IIT Madras Zanzibar campus. Those are also available for MTech students. At the BS and MTech levels, at both of them, we have scholarships by charitable foundations. At the master's level, we have this particular scholarship that is now valid and relevant. Nirav has something to add.
Just to add that IIT Madras Deakin University fellowships are also applicable. So please look out for those opportunities also.
Yeah, sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, no, just wanted to confirm. Thank you.
Okay,
Any other
the presentation slides, maybe it is all recorded. It is already available in the YouTube. Maybe you can please keep watching that one. Any other
Sir,
question?
seems like we have almost answered all the queries.
Mm.
Then that's nice.
Yeah, that's nice.
Maybe we'll take one photo if everybody starts a camera, then we can have a one. Matima, yes, okay. Abhilasha and Moniha, Mohana madam, please. Okay. So Abhilasha, will you take?
Yes, sir, I did.
Thank you.
Yeah, done, sir.
Thank you very much. Matima, you can close it. Okay, now over to you.
Okay, thank you very much to all of our participants from here at Team Zanzibar. It was a very insightful session. We've learned a lot from it, and the discussion has underscored the critical role in AI, sustainable solution, and importance for collaboration in addressing global challenges. So encourage everyone to keep in touch, to stay together with us for another opportunity session that we are going to share for another time. Thank you very much and stay blessed.
And welcome in Zanzibar.
Oh,
Thank you.
welcome.
Karibu
Welcome in
Zanzibar.
Zanzibar.
Karibu Zanzibar,
Thank
yeah.
you, Professor.
Karibu,
Thank
asante sana.
Thank you,
Asante.
Matima.
Thank you.
Innocent Professor Raj Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Abhilasha, for all the coordination, and Professor Mona for all the help. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Matima.
Thank you.